A dog that jumps on every adult in the house. Goes still the second the baby enters the room. A horse that spooks at sudden movement. Stands motionless while a toddler pats its leg. This isn't one lucky pet. It happens across species. Dogs, cats, horses, even animals in the wild. So what are they actually reacting to? Animal behaviorists have documented this for decades. It's not a coincidence, and it's not just good training. Something about a baby, specifically, changes how animals behave, not children, not adults, babies, infants, the smallest humans in the room. There's a term for part of what's happening. Kindchenschema, German for baby schema. A researcher named Konrad Lorenz described it decades ago. Big eyes, round face, big head relative to the body, soft, uncoordinated movements. Those features trigger a caregiving response, not just in humans looking at human babies, in a wide range of animals looking at anything with those features. Why would an animal's brain respond to features that aren't even its own species? Because the response isn't really about identifying human baby. It's about identifying helpless, young, non-threatening, round, soft, slow, small. Those are the same signals a baby animal gives off to an animal built to soften around its own vulnerable young. Ends up softening around anything that trips the same signal, including us. There's a second piece, separate from appearance. It's how babies move and sound. Adults move fast, sharp, purposeful. To an animal's nervous system, fast and sharp can read as threat, or at least as pay attention. This needs a reaction. Babies move slow, uncoordinated, low to the ground when crawling. Their cries are high-pitched, but not aggressive. None of it matches the pattern of a threat. So the animal's guard drops, almost automatically. Animals rely on scent far more than we do, and a baby's scent is different from an adult's. Fewer of the compounds that come with adult skin, sweat, hormones. Some researchers think this reads to animals as not a rival, not a threat, not fully formed yet. Closer to how they'd read their own young, or the young of another species entirely. Combine the look, the movement, and the smell, and you get an animal running an entirely different behavior program than it runs around adults. There are documented cases of wild elephants gently guiding a lost human toddler back toward people, moving slowly, using their trunks with unusual restraint. There's the well-known case of a gorilla at a zoo cradling and protecting a young child who had fallen into her enclosure, shielding him from other gorillas until help arrived. These aren't trained behaviors. No one taught a wild elephant or a gorilla in an enclosure what to do with a human infant. The response came from somewhere older than training. Zoom out further, and there's a bigger biological pattern underneath all of this. It's called alloparenting. Caring for young that aren't your own offspring. It shows up across many social species. Elephants babysit calves that belong to other members of the herd. Wolves that aren't the parents will still feed and guard pups. Even some birds help raise chicks they didn't hatch. The instinct to protect vulnerable young isn't strictly wired to my own babies. In many species, it's wired more broadly than that. And a human infant fits neatly inside that broader category. For most of human history, we lived in close daily contact with animals. Dogs by the fire, goats in the yard, working animals everywhere. Ancient parents weren't necessarily testing a theory, but they noticed, generation after generation, that animals around the camp behaved differently around infants. Calmer, more careful. That pattern became part of how they thought about safety, without anyone needing to name the biology behind it. Now, here's the part that matters most. This isn't a green light. The instinct is real, but it's not a guarantee, and it's not a substitute for supervision. Even the gentlest, most baby-softened animal can still react to pain, surprise, sudden movement, or a grabbed ear or tail. Naturally more careful is not the same as predictable or safe to leave alone with. That's true for a family dog. It's true for a farm animal. It's true for wildlife. So the real story here isn't animals will always protect your baby. It's that animals are running an ancient, cross-species recognition system. One that responds to roundness, softness, slowness, and a certain kind of cry. And that system quietly softens behavior in ways we're only now able to explain. That it's one of the more beautiful accidents of evolution. A response built for an animal's own young, extending itself to a completely different species, including us. Long before anyone understood Kindchenschema or Alloparenting or any of the underlying biology, people simply noticed something true. Animals get gentler around babies. They were right. They just didn't have the word for why. Comment below. Has an animal in your life acted noticeably different around a baby? Share this with someone who has a pet meeting a new baby soon. And subscribe, because some instincts are older than any species that has them.